I have a interesting video for you today. I have 14 eyeshadow palettes right here that I've been recently testing. Most of them are holiday palettes, and mostly they will be ranking when it comes to quality, when it comes to price point versus quality, and some of the qualities that were usually used to have from a brand and what is the difference. And then of course my personal preference when it comes to color story, if the palettes are so close to, you know, rank one next to each other. Of course, if it's a color story that is my preference, I will rank that one higher. So without any further ado, let's start. Okay, as I was ranking my palettes today, I realized unfortunately Pat McGrath Holiday released this year, well, it wasn't too exciting for me, unfortunately, even though I purchased literally whole collection. I gotta say, I ended up being disappointed almost with the whole collection, unfortunately. Not what I was expecting. Also, before we continue, I just want to mention that today's makeup look I created with a couple of today's palettes I will mention, and really soon that video tutorial will be up on my channel. Anyways, let's start with the number 14, and that is Pat McGrath Sunset Romance palette. Even though the good thing is we have two mattes in this Queen's eyeshadow palette, and I did mention a couple of times already, I do prefer Queen's over her new big mothership palettes that she came out with for this holiday season. Because of the color story here, I just unfortunately I couldn't rank this any higher. In a way, it was a disappointment for me, just because in a way it feels so flat, if that's the correct word that I'm trying to express this palette. I mean, the quality is good, it's nothing super impressive, but the color story is just something that I think like it's on like shades that just have been on a repeat. It feels like I am so limited. Well, you'll see some other 5 eyeshadow pan palettes worked wonders with the same amount of the eyeshadows. So that's the reason, well, unfortunately I'll have to put this last when it comes to today's ranking. Number 13, this may be shocking for you as it is for me. I cannot believe, I just cannot believe I am ranking this one so low. It is Mothership Bijou Brilliance Starstruck Splendor. When I tell you I was the most excited about this palette besides the other Queens from the Pat McGrath, which that Queens was so good, you'll see it ranked really high within today's video. Oh my god, I cannot believe I'm ranking this so low. So I was really enjoying more these emerald and greens, and I was excited because we finally have something kind of a little bit different besides a couple of these shades right here, to have something different from Pat McGrath. But at the end of the day, quality versus what we have in here, not to mention that we have different products in here. These one were made in Italy, these were made in the USA. Oh boy, I do really prefer her Italian formula when it comes to these her eyeshadows. That is like the best that she obviously that she did produce so far in her original Mothership palettes and those special shades. I cannot compare these with those shades, and honestly I would rather save my money and add up a little bit for the shades that we have in Mothership palette than this, like having a lot more. But what good does it do if, you know, it's not the highest quality? However, I'm not saying this is bad quality, it is just not what we used to get into her Mothership palette. This blush right here, Nymphet, is already blush that we have from Pat McGrath, and this one right here is new one, which for me was like a bit too bright, too fluorescent for me. And the Nymphet, unfortunately, you have to pay attention, because when you apply the blush, it's not matte, it does have like those goldy sparkles in it, and it really matters what is the rest of your makeup, so that you don't kind of have a mismatch with, for example, what you're wearing on your eyes. When your blush, if you're having something cool tone on your eyes and then the blush is having a reflection that is not matching everything else. That's bad. I will say that the Dawn Divinity shade, it is so gorgeous in here, and I do love it. But at the same time, I have to mention that a Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette has a really similar shade to this one. And the color story with that palette surprised me so much, and I can apply one of the favorite shades within the really good color story. I'm not saying this one is bad, but at the same time, nothing exciting. I don't have lighting here. These shades right here are too, how would I say this? Like they're too transitional and don't have the depth in here, which I do have in the other Mothership palette from her holiday, which is pretty great. I was just expecting much more from this, you guys. We do have big sized mirror here, which is great. One of the biggest mirrors actually I do have today, but woo! Oh my god, I almost broke this. But the thing is with this palette that it doesn't have any resistance and it just keeps on doing this, so you have to be careful. Number 12, another shocking palette ranking. 11 out of 10 for the packaging. I think it is stunning with all of these details and everything. Love the idea, love the tones in here and shimmers and everything, but these mattes, oh my god, they are so, in a way, reminded me of cream to powder formula from the Natasha Denona, how creamy they are. But the thing with these one, you apply them, they have nothing to do with those cream to powder formula, like for example what Natasha has. Why I'm comparing this, because they feel so similar, the effect is different, and these kind of overblend on top of each other. I did love the idea of the more cooler neutral and warmer tone brown, but we don't have any real depth in here, and it can be okay for someone. You know, some of you are looking for much more lighter, more light in a way palette to use, but this is very expensive palette for what it is, you guys, and I am not impressed whatsoever with these three mattes. When it comes to this one is formulated a bit different, but then again thought this one was really interesting because it's not super silver, it is mixed between blue and silver, and this topper was also really nice. But I wouldn't suggest you guys buy this for a full price. I would wait for a sale, because this, like I said, this is really pricey palette. You can get pretty looks with it, but for me, the most disappointing part was these mattes. I can't even explain like how I had an issue working with them, how much they overblend with themselves, you know? Because for some of you it will be easier to work with eyeshadow that is not super pigmented, doesn't grab that much, but this is like over the line, you know? It's too much. So that's the reason why this was ranking, even though it's Charlotte Tilbury, why this is ranking really low. Number 11 is Pat McGrath's Bordeaux Bliss eyeshadow palette. Now, in my original first impressions eyeshadow tutorial, I did use this dark eyeshadow right here, and I did love it. But besides this eyeshadow, and I think the color story is pretty, in a way it's pretty good color story, but it's nothing unique, nothing that would wow me. And one other thing why this is ranking kind of lower is because in this palette we don't have any mattes in here, and that might be a big breaking point for you to not buy this unless you are going to incorporate this with something else. Like in general, we do need at least one matte to incorporate like a transitional shade or whatever. With the shimmers, otherwise you're gonna have shimmers all over your eyelids. I don't know how much use out of just one palette like that you can use from here. Yeah, so you definitely need to incorporate this one with some of your other palettes, and that's it when it comes to this one. Number 10 is another Mothership palette, and this one is Jewel Temptation. Originally I thought I'm gonna love more the other one, but I ended up loving this one more. You can get such a beautiful like burgundy golden yellowish, like a sunset look with this one. Also, we have Paradise Venus blush in here, which is her existing blush. We also have a new one. I like that these are a bit toned down, and we do have depth in here, which I really appreciated. And this kind of a multi-chrome in here. Oh, this is so good. Like, this one glides beautifully on your eyelid, and this is not my perfect color story, and I do not have lights in here to create a certain look, but I do prefer this one over the other one. The quality is good, it's okay. I did realize for this, wait a second, Midnight Sherry eyeshadow looks beautiful, and I expected it to be much more burgundy, but when I applied it, not only that it looked way deeper, but I had issue blending this one. I'm still not sure why that happened. Oh, and one more thing. Anyways, I did have a bit more issue blending that one. I just realized in general, I don't like this packaging, like this cardboard I get done. We do have like a lower price for that, but it started to kind of peel off here. So that is like this packaging. I feel like it has a lot of nedostataka. I can't find the word. Number 9, it is Bronze Ecstasy. This palette was something that I really enjoyed. The quality was okay, and I raved about this shade right here, how unique it is, how cool tone it is. It does have like really special reflect, and I love the fact that we got something different from Pat when it comes to color story, and I did enjoy this one even more than those big motherships. Again, I'll rather have good quality 5 Queens than 20 eyeshadow palette. If I don't have any use out of it, then like what I'm gonna do with it. I did create a smoky look with this one. I really did love that, and I also heard some of your comments and feedback that you really enjoyed this one. Had some compliments wearing this one, and I can see why. And again, one of the little palettes that I really enjoy, mainly because of the different color story, and for the price that it is, I say it's a good deal. Number 8, Danessa Myricks Lightwork 5 palette. We talk a lot about this one on my channel. One thing that I haven't done, and I wanna just to apply these multi-chromes on a different base, and I'm thinking about creating that video hopefully pretty soon. What I did love about this one versus Lightwork 4, if you have or saw that one, that she took out certain finishes and kept just the one that we really kind of, I'll say, the majority enjoys. And it's a bit easier to work with. However, this is not the easiest palette to work with. Some of the finishes are easy to work with, but some of them, like when applying them, like there are a lot of small things we have to think about. Also, the good thing is you can mix and match some shades and create your own custom shade. This is all metallic chroma sparkling eyeshadow palette. We do not have any mattes in here. I only wish we have more multi-chromes that are like super shifty. I think Lightwork 4 exceeded that on top of this one, but it is what it is. I still love and enjoy these finishes, and yeah, I think you can get a lot of fun with this one, especially if you are leaning more towards looks that you can create color, that you can, you know, experiment with different finishes. And I would suggest this one for you. I know it's not cheap palette to use, but at the end of the day, textures like this are not cheap to formulate. They are really expensive, and that's the reason why this palette is so expensive. One thing that I realized that she's doing recently with her palette is this metal thing right here, which I think aesthetically it is so beautiful, but at the same time it is so not convenient when if you are layering your palettes one on top of each other. I'm always afraid it's going to slip, so just be cautious of that. One palette that I wanted to throw in, it is not necessarily like the holiday palette, but I just wanted to say that I do have a lot of use out of this palette. This is Danessa Myricks, another Danessa's palette, which is total opposite of what she's done in her Lightwork palette. This is Groundwork palette, and essentially what you got here is inspired by, I'll say, like skin tones. What do we have in here are pomades and also powders. one thing I wish is that this has been different, because we tend to use a lot more powders when it comes to face than the pomades. So I wish this was different. I do love how we have different undertones, and from the lightest to the darkest in here. So again, I did have a lot of use out of this. You can mix this from creating your lip product or adding some of these to your lip products, to your face, to your eyes. It is just eyebrows. It is gorgeous. Like, I do use this tourmaline pomade for my eyebrows mixed with some other products, or I'll use tourmaline and also sculpted works. So beautiful. If you're a makeup artist, I would suggest this because it is multifunctional and you do get a lot of use out of it, and these are your essentials that you do need. The only thing I'm concerned about, like I mentioned, like how long these pomades will hold like this, because what I do love, even though this is closed, but the safest thing is to have pomade closed, like what we have in English MC gel eyeliners. I don't know what I would do without these. From now on, this is my top 6. Everything in here is pretty great that I tried. Quality, color story, packaging, everything is so good. So a lot had to come down to my personal preferences and versus price, and again, the quality is really good. The number 6 is Lunar Nightshade from Pat McGrath. This is the best palette from BIJOUX collection, in my opinion, for the various reasons. First of all, look at this color story. This is beautiful. This is great. So essentially what we have in this one, I kind of was expecting to have in the mothership. That's why I was leaning a lot towards the palette that it has the greens inside, but this one ended up being so beautiful for the price that it is. For the 5 eyeshadow pan palette, this is great. We also have like this champagne color, beautiful, stunning. What we don't have, like these two kind of transitional shades, are so shimmery. We don't have transitional shade. We have shade that is right here. But the look that I created with this palette, it's one of my favorite looks. Like, I couldn't believe, like I said in that video, what I pulled off with just this palette with just 5 eyeshadows, you guys. It is amazing. I highly recommend this one, especially for the price it is. Even if it's full price, I do recommend this one. Again, it's going to more lean towards to even like this color story. Maybe you run away from these emerald greens, but these go perfectly together from first to the last. I cannot say enough good things about this one. It was a good, exciting palette for me to try. I wish we have extended version of a real mothership based on this color story. Please, I would really love that. Okay, now this palette was my number 1 ranking in my last video. I cannot believe now it is number 5. I was debating is it going to be number 4 or 5, but it's really close to the other palettes, and this is from Anastasia Beverly Hills Fall Romance palette. Still, I am loving this palette. I haven't used it that much since then, but nothing changed what I said. I love this color story. I love the cool tones in here. I love what you can create with it, and if this is something that you're drawn to, I would recommend this palette. Also, I'll say the price is pretty good. The look that I created with this one was so gorgeous. I loved it, and I loved the way it applied. Obviously, this is not like my perfect color story, but you can create multiple different looks with this one as well, because you do have different shades in here. Anyways, I love the fact that we have both shimmers and mattes. I already talked so much about this palette, and I'm just kind of now having tried to some new eyeshadows that are even more closer color story to me. I had to rank those a bit higher than this one. Number 4 is Mini from Natasha Denona. This one is ranking so high because the color story that she made in here goes perfectly with each other. Like, these blues are so beautiful. We have like vibrant baby blue, then we have like this more kind of a punch of a color, we have toned down deep blue, we have multichrome, which is not the most shifting multichrome ever, but it works so beautiful with everything, and we have this silvery light shade in here. However, this palette for what it is, I really enjoy this. Love the idea of this and how you can, like, for me is I just want to reward somebody who can create something within such a limited space of the eyeshadows to give variety, and so that you can create something, not only one look, but you can create a couple of looks. I'm also wearing this eyeshadow on my lower lash line, these three blue matte eyeshadows, and I really do think that she did a great job when it comes to formulation. When it comes to pigment, like I mentioned, how pigmented this is, I really do love how even when you apply it and when you blend it, how pigmented it stays. It's really important while creating a look. Also, it does have 24 months shelf life. Good Italy formula. Great Decision, which is extended version of her trichrome palette. If you are into blue, highly recommend this one. Top 3 eyeshadow palettes. This one was hard. I enjoyed so much every single one of these palettes. One of them was shocking surprise to me, considering last year's it wasn't that good. But let me tell you, that is Huda's Beauty Pretty Grunge palette. I was so skeptical about this launch. Ended up being so close to all of these recent palettes that I mentioned now. We have divided color story, we have different finishes. I wish if we could incorporate this shade grunge differently, not being glossy like I said, because when we have more pigment we can use it even as a liner, and this way it's just, it doesn't do much if it's not pigmented. The look that last look that I created with this one was so stunning. Color story applied beautifully. One thing that was surprising was that certain eyeshadows look certain way in a pan. I apply them on my eyelid, they change the color. Like they literally look like this shade looked so pink on me, for example. And this one was even more vibrant than in the pan, which I don't mind. I loved it. And I also have it mostly on my as my eyeshadow today. I really had so much fun with this one. The only, again, issue while blending this was that you can kind of overblend them. When you pack these eyeshadows, they have pigment, but when you blend them, you have to be careful to not overblend them because a lot of that pigment will get lost, unfortunately. And I'm still trying to test to see how can I differently apply these mattes from her. Great idea. I also wish we do have lights in here. We don't. Like maybe for the deeper skin tones, yes. For me, no. Like this one and this one, initially what I thought are going to be light, they're not. Other than that, I really enjoy this palette. Formulation, color story. I think I even combining certain shades created one of the most beautiful looks for the brown eyes. Gorgeous. So I was skeptical because of the Empowered palette last year. So I thought, you know, who knows what's gonna happen this year. Anyways, let's move on to my top 2 eyeshadow palettes. I thought this one is going even to be number 1, but I decided to put it at number 2. This is expensive palette, but this is gorgeous palette. And let me just think once again, to have 4 eyeshadows and create something like this, wow. I mean, this palette is, besides the fact that I dropped, again, I forgot that this eyeshadow here is broken. I have to be really careful how I hold this one. So this is Tom Ford Lumiere d'Hiver eyeshadow palette, and this one is their holiday collection eyeshadow palette. This is stunning. I couldn't believe the look that I pulled with this eyeshadow palette. I also have this shade right here. It's my lightest matte shade, and even though this is so light, this one is so dark. You can beautifully blend them even though they are so different in a depth, and it's going to work. Then we have these 2 beautiful, gorgeous shimmery shades, like more like a taupe. Oh, it is so stunning. I cannot even explain. I'm trying to think, because when I think as an artist, then I automatically have to have like 15 eyeshadows to play with to create like something top notch. I don't know. So I feel like I'm super limited when I have 4 eyeshadows to create something either creative or something more even glamorous. But the thing is that depending on the formulation and the idea of the certain eyeshadow palette, you really can do a lot. And that's why what I really appreciate when I have something like this, quality. This is such a good quality. Again, I know expensive, I know Tom Ford, but this is such a great palette. It's neutral. I think it will complement a lot of you guys, and this worth every single euro that I paid, and I would pay for it again when it comes to this palette. I'm not sure if this is limited edition. I think it is. I hope it's not, but this is highly recommended palette. I couldn't believe like how good this palette is. And also on the promo photos, it looked totally different for whatever reason. I don't think the photos did the justice to this palette at all. So far, you know what my number 1 eyeshadow palette is, and I know this is this could be like a discussion, because okay, it is leaning towards what I like, and it is something that I feel comfortable with working, but it's not only that why I put the Xenon palette as my number 1 for this holiday. Finally we have from light to depth in a palette. I know it can be a little bit like kind of a scary. It's like one color story eyeshadow palette, but it's more than that. It really is. It's just the way how you apply this. I get that you are a bit more limited in a way of the color story than in a Huda's palette, but at the same time, again, it really depends what type of look you're creating, how you're applying your eyeshadows. A lot goes into that debate. I also have 2 of her eyeshadows on my lid here, and that is shade Snowbow and shade Neve. And I also have Splash and Cygnus on my lower lash line, which worked beautifully with the mini Triochrome palette. We have good Natasha's formula and her new wet effect formula as well. The only shade I thought like maybe would be kind of excessive, because yes, we do have like a really close light range of the shades, but they are like different. This one does have more of a pinkish undertone. This one is, again, it's different and it's more of a taupe. This one acts really differently because it is more metallic-y, but this one maybe I would change for something else in this palette, you know, maybe more to complement this last row. At the end of the day, we also do have even a transitional color, and I know some of you commented like you wish that we have something different within the transitional colors as well. These turned out to work really good for me. And the other comment was that this pink wasn't that pink. This is icy pink, like I already mentioned, and it does have a white base underneath. That is why it's not like regular pink. But again, I am wearing it on my eyes today. The only thing I don't like about this packaging, I love the fact that I know for a fact this is Xenon palette is dark and it has specific packaging. I like that it's so simple, but it leaves the fingerprints all over the place, and that's something I don't like. Like, I love how packaging is stir and it won't go anywhere. I enjoy this palette so much. This is really cool tone palette. I'm looking forward to create even more looks with this one, and I know for a fact I'm going to grab this. It's not going just to sit on my shelf and, you know, just for me not to get any use out of it. I also think this Cygnus shade, oh, is such a gorgeous undertone of this metallic shade. It is stunning. Anyways, I'm so grateful for her to time after time to come up with a specific color story besides everything that is going on. So if you are looking for a really cool toned eyeshadow palette, and I am warm toned, and this worked wonders on me as well, like when we talk about the color stories. So don't let that be the deceiving factor. Once again, if you're not into gray/blue undertones, you're not gonna buy this. I understand that. This is not like I need a nude palette, but this one is, for me personally, again, way better, and I do get more use out of this than that palette. Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me today. Let me know your thoughts when it comes to all of these eyeshadow palettes that we discussed. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Have you tried some of these? What is your experience? Let me know. Before you leave, make sure to watch this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.